Thanks for being here. My name is Mile Marker, also known as Madeline. This podcast aims to discover what it means to live authentically. I work to uncover tools to help me be most present in my life. Each episode, we will discuss themes like how to listen to your body, understanding ways to be true to yourself, and learning what deep fulfillment looks like. The episodes will also relate to ideas inspired by my 2024 hike across the state of Arizona. Let's do this.
Welcome to episode 17 of Musings with Mile Marker. Today is March 10th, 2026, and I will be discussing the 17th day of my hike across the state of Arizona in 2024. Without further ado, let's take a listen to the audio that I recorded on this day.
Hello. Today's Wednesday the 27th, and I want to talk about yesterday, Tuesday the 26th. We woke up and it was it was raining on us when we woke up, but by the time between 5:30 and 6, the raining stopped. So then we got skedaddled and got ready and hiked 11 miles. I had so much pep in my steps. Thank you to Morgan for giving us the go-go squeeze and granola. So we felt pretty good. It was by the time we made it to the underpass for the pickup, it was pouring. But thankfully, Brett and Tom were already at the underpass. So they had called the pizza man, and so the pizza man was on his way. So we all shoved into the car with Pizza Man. His son was in the back, who's a nice 2-year-old boy. And then we drove to the pizza place, and of course got a lot of pizza. What else? We honestly just kind of chilled at the house. It rained. Walked back from the groceries. Went to the grocery store. Just relaxed. It rained again in the evening, which we were not expecting, but the rain has been fickle, so just gotta kind of roll with the punches, really. The box here was so nice from SIP. It did not include a Smirnoff Ice, but it included a card that Hauser, Doug, Slimmer, Sam, Allegra, I think even Max, all of them had signed, which I thought was really, really nice. So really feeling grateful for the friends and support they showed us. So now I'm packing. It's the next day. Oh, Gary showed up. Gary, who's going to be driving us, he's the father-in-law of the guy who drove us yesterday. He barged into the house and was like, I need to pee. So Nick slept through it, but he came in, peed. We had a hilarious conversation about urologists and kidney centers. But now I'm packing. It is Wednesday morning, 6:20. Gary's going to be over at 8 to take us to the grocery store so we can get our free donut and coffee. I might eat a piece of pizza for breakfast anyway. Then on our way to Superior, staying with MJ.
What you just heard was audio from technically my 18th day on the hike, but I was referring to the activities of the 17th day. And when I would get off trail, for instance, when I took this day into Kearny, I would often forget to do my recording, and then I would do it the next day with reference to the previous day. So this may be happening more and more throughout the episodes, but the sentiment remains the same when I talk about a given day. I want to take a minute and talk again about this Far Out app. We had mentioned it back in episode 7 when I was talking about different waypoints and ways to navigate and kind of know where you were going and have a guide on your phone. But getting off trail was something that sometimes was really easy and sometimes took a little more effort. And Kearny, Arizona is around mile 264 of this trail journey. When I hiked to Patagonia, which was the first town stop along the trail, the detour was not very far and the trail gets very close to the town. So it's easy to get off, do a resupply, rest, and then get back on. Similarly, Tucson was very easy too. The trailhead for Molino Basin was easy to get on the road and then either call an Uber or get a hitchhike. Oracle was a little bit trickier, actually. So I'm glad that we were able to talk to Anne in order to get off trail, because Oracle also was a really small feeling town, and I would have felt kind of aimless and not really knowing where to go or what to do in that town. Versus Tucson, I could just go and figure out my plan. But Oracle, it was nice to have Anne as support to figure out where I was going to stay. But let's consider Kearny. So on far out, along the trail, there are waypoints. But then there are also some pieces of information about the surrounding area. So Kearny, Arizona is technically 7 miles away from the trail. So you have to zoom out of the map a little bit and see these waypoints that are not exactly on the trail but are adjacent to the trail. If you click on the Kearny, Arizona icon, it tells you there are a lot of things you can do in this town. And the blurb goes as follows. The town of Kearny, an Arizona Trail gateway community, has a post office, a public library with internet, a grocery store, a few restaurants, and lodging, the General Kearny Inn. Post office hours are displayed as well. Then, if you keep scrolling down, it gives you comments from different hikers and users of this app and their notes on what they did in the town or what they would recommend you to do. So, here's a note from an app user from February 24th, 2026. James gave us a shuttle ride into town. Super cool guy. And we grabbed dinner at G&J. Great food and service on the way to Kearny. Everyone was super nice at Norm's IGA and Old Time Pizza too. So this is a 2026 post, but back when I was reading these comments in 2024, someone had said, the guys who run the pizza place are really cool and they will help you out. So call up the pizza men and get a ride. Under normal circumstances, the idea of calling a pizza place and getting a lift seems absurd. But this was pretty normal to do on the trail. By the time we had gotten to the trailhead, Brett had already called the pizza man. I didn't even realize his name was James. I'm pretty sure that the younger pizza man is named James, and then Gary's his own situation. But James came. We called him or texted him. He picked us up. He got in his truck, and he drove us straight to the pizza place, which was essential. I mean, it was drizzling, and we really wanted food. So it's kind of great, honestly, for him to be taking all these hikers and going straight to his restaurant. So we spent a bunch of money there, ate some pizza, and then went back to Q's house. I want to add a little clarity on who Q is. Similar to staying with Anne, Q was a trail angel whose home I stayed with. However, I had prepared to stay with Q a long, long time ago. So while I was doing my food preparations, I made a box of my resupply. And I had contacted her from the Arizona Trail Angels page and said, hi, I'm going to be stopping by Kearny approximately during this time. Can I send my resupply box? And she said, sure, ship it to my house. I will have it for you. The interesting thing is that Q's husband, Jeff, was in the military, and so she was actually visiting him and was not at her house. But all of these hikers were still using her home. So Jeff and Q opened up their house without their supervision to all of these people on the trail, which was incredibly generous and very nice. And of course, we kept it up. We were cleaning. She had instructions that said, if you're here on a Tuesday, please take the trash out, please bring the bins back in, etc., etc. But I showed up at the house. We actually walked to her house because from the pizza place, it was only just down the road. So then had the address, walked to Q's house, and there were already many other hikers there once we arrived. I was so thrilled to receive the box that I had prepared. Incidentally, I think I had given this box to Sam, and I had said, please ship it on this day so that I can get it approximately in this window of when it should be arriving. And he had put all these snacks in addition to the note, which was so lovely and inspiring and heartwarming at the time. All these random fun snacks too was very exciting to see because I love little random fun snacks. I got to chat with the other hikers in the room that were also staying there. Often for 0 days, other hikers would spend a few days off trail. They would just hang out in the town and veg. We would spend basically a half day off trail and then get back on to still do more miles the following day. But I was still able to feel recuperated from a half day. I mean, from basically 11 miles, which was our quote unquote Nero day, which is just kind of funny because 11 miles is still kind of a lot considering that's your really light day. But it was great to hang out at the house, take a shower, dry some stuff off since it had been raining, etc. But the moral of this day that I want to remark on is being open for whatever, expecting the unexpected, especially being on the trail. Oh, I got to hitch a ride with a man who runs a pizza joint. Cool. That's just normal life now, I guess. And then Gary barging into the house was so funny and also unexpected, but very amusing. Because there were a lot of hikers in this house at the time, Nick and I were literally laying our sleeping pads and sleeping bags in this laundry room. Like, it's a mud room, basically, that has an external door that goes to the outside. And Gary had just started banging on the door when it was already nighttime, and I opened it, let him in, and then we ended up just chit-chatting in the living room with some of the other hikers that were still awake for a while. I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, 15, 20, 30 minutes. I don't really know exactly, but normally I would have probably said, oh, I want to go to sleep now. Like, I don't want to entertain this random elderly guy. But he was very fun and animated, and ironically, I had to stay awake because I knew he was going to be leaving through the mudroom, so I couldn't just go back there and like pretend to fake sleep since I would have to get up and let him out and close the door anyway. But it was just so funny thinking like anything can happen on this trail and anything can happen in these little towns and in these random homes that I'm staying in, but that's sort of part of the thrill. And even in my life today, I'm really trying to have more fun and be a little more whimsical. And perhaps that includes doing things that are unexpected. There are things that I like to do that I sometimes don't do regularly, maybe because I think they don't have purpose. I think that a lot of my life today often feels purpose-driven, and I want to try to kind of steer away from that. And one of those things actually is yoga. I love the yoga at Austin Bouldering Project. But sometimes if I think, oh, I'm not lifting because this is making me stronger since I have strength-related goals, or, oh, I'm not training climbing, so why am I spending this time doing yoga? But yoga honestly feels so good. And, oh, another tangent on what's going on with my life is I'm reading this book about nervous system regulation called Our Polyvagal World, and it's about kind of the vagus nerve or our polyvagal system, which is effectively what controls our fight or flight and our ability to regulate our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous systems. And a section of the book that I just recently read is about creating spaces or designing spaces that have calming and soothing elements in mind. And even with architects or people who are building hospitals, you want them to be considering comfort and safety and calming elements for people to recover the best way that they can or to heal the best way that they can. And so in my life, I don't want to feel like I'm in a state of stress. I want to feel like I can decompress and relax fully and sleep deeply, etc. Just be the most calm and relaxed and non-stressed version of myself. And of course, breathing is an element of this, and taking slow, long, deep breaths is part of this. And yoga is a great way to practice this. But interestingly, even when I'm doing low intensity yoga, I can notice I struggle to take really deep inhalations and really deep exhalations. Like, I wouldn't say that I get lightheaded, but sometimes I can just tell, like, oh, my lungs are not expanding to the depth that they could be. So I really am embracing more of the lower intensity yoga so I can more intrinsically notice how deep and intentional my breathing is. Because when I'm doing a harder class, like a power class or a sculpt class, you're kind of just pushing through and hanging on and not focusing on the breathing nearly as much as if you're doing a restorative class or a lower level vinyasa or flow class. So I'm trying to continue to let anything go, or to let life happen and be open to new experiences and just see how things unfold, like I had to do on the trail. And when I think back on that day in Kearny, it really was such a fun, great day off trail, just to recuperate and get my bearings and experience new people, because the people on the trail really were so fulfilling. And I'm excited to see where my life in Austin brings more new experiences.
That concludes this episode of Musings with Mile Marker. Thanks for listening. The intro and outro music are from a track called Wake Robin, composed and recorded by my late grandfather, Bob Ackery. Cover art for this podcast was designed by Polly Morwood. Production and editing of this podcast were done by me, your host, Mile Marker, aka Madeline Ackery. See you next time.